everybody, Mike Naso here from podweather.com and Internet Partnership Radio with the latest on the tropics. And it is July 1st, which means in about 1 to 2 months, things are really going to get cooking in the Atlantic. And based on Dr. Klotzbach and Dr. Gray's June prediction, we could get down to the O-name storm. Now, we already have Arthur down. The next name is Bertha. And taking a look over the Atlantic today is generally quiet, at least in this part of the picture. We have a small tropical wave now moving in towards the Lesser Antilles, and the NAM model shows this wave becoming a little bit of something as it heads up near Puerto Rico, causing a lot of heavy rain. Keep an eye on it. And off the screen near Mexico, we have a developing tropical depression, as well as a area of disturbed weather down here that some of the models also make a pretty intense tropical cyclone. But starting in the eastern Atlantic, this was not on the screen that I showed you before. This is a very potent tropical wave, and it's actually associated with the tropical low, which would probably be right about in here. And you can see pretty decent curvature with it. That's the infrared. Moving to the blood water vapor, as I like to call it, with the red coloring here, you can clearly see there's a good surge of moisture with the wave, and the visible clearly shows impressive circulation trying to develop with it. So this is our feature, and the models have caught on to as Invest 92L. Now this current motion is straight towards the west, and remember last year that we had situations like Felix, that if you followed the extrapolated motion of Felix from when it was a depression, the extrapolated track 5 days out was exactly what the track of Felix was. The models were way too far north. Same with Dean. If it stays weaker, it's likely to move further west. If it strengthens more, it may move further north. You can see most of the models here in good agreement, generally west-northwest over the next several days. Now, if we look at a few other models, including the H-WRF, which is now run because it is an Invest, you can see what happens. The H-WRF model has this system becoming a hurricane, and a pretty intense hurricane, a Category 2 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and over about 144 hours moves it up towards the west-northwest and on a northwest track, and starts to slowly weaken it and has it over here moving towards a weakness in the ridge. Now, a few other models show the ridge kind of rebounding, and that would push whatever's left of our system back to the west. Whether or not it gets far enough west to ever affect land, that's just not known. Now, another model, the GFS, which everybody always loves to watch, moves our system off Africa, has moved off Africa, and it starts to develop it into a tropical storm and then a Category 1 hurricane. And you can see it takes our hurricane by this time northwestward, weakens it, pulls it north, and then it has what's left of it pushing back west. And you can see here by 264 hours, I know we're getting far out, it does have our system pushing westward, generally towards the Bahamas and the southeast United States, also near Bermuda here. Now, the reason for this is because, as we've seen all too often, a ridge can back down and pull a system northward and then push it back west, and that's exactly what the GFS model is indicating. Now, whether or not that occurs, of course, is way too early to tell. Now, as far as development's concerned, developmental conditions are favorable. You see we have very low wind shear in the eastern Atlantic over a large area, and waters are very warm, and they've actually been above normal off the African coastline this year, which is why we're likely to see some development with this as the Hurricane Center knows is possible. However, if you know out here we have a very strong area of wind shear blasting anything that would come towards the west-northwest. So I think there's an opportunity for this to strengthen, maybe into a hurricane. A few of the models, again, make it a Category 2 hurricane, and then start to kind of peak it out, and that's certainly because of the wind shear up here. Whether or not it would turn out to sea, get destroyed, or what's left of it would get turned back west, how favorable would conditions be down the road? Those are, 10-day questions that we'll just have to wait and see. Now, another hurricane named Bertha, if this does become a storm or a hurricane be named Bertha again, this same name list is 96 and 02, that developed further to the south and west, and it became a major hurricane. And, of course, July caught up with it, and it really decayed, but made a big comeback by the time it hit North Carolina as a Category 2 hurricane. Caused some damage, but not enough to have its name retired. And just 5 years ago, I remember tracking this depression. It was on June 11th, even earlier than this, at about 9 north and about 42 west, and that was forecast to become a tropical storm, never did. So it's not completely unusual to see this. In the eastern Pacific, we do have a hurricane, Boris, winds 75 miles an hour, it's moving west at 11, 989 millibars, and is expected to weaken and decay as it moves westward, but it certainly is still trying to hold its own, as you can see here on the satellite loop. You can see the eye there tucking under the deep convection once again, and it's trying to keep hurricane strength. I think it will for a couple more hours at least before something else happens to it and causes it to weaken. Now further near Mexico, look at this. This system here is a tropical, well, it's not anything yet. It was going to be a tropical depression over the next few days, but it's not showing any real signs of moving. This loop is not showing any signs of moving for me. It's updating. Okay, see, things are on track here. The Hurricane Center keeps things nice and updated. But anyway, as this loop updates, you can see that we do have a broad area of circulation within it. It looks like it's probably going to develop. I can't see this not becoming at least a tropical storm, if not even a hurricane, based on some of the models. And if I go to the next graphic here, maybe this, there we go. This shows a better, very, very large area of deep convection. That's why it hasn't been able to develop for a few days, because it's trying to form a center, and it looks like right in this general area here is where we'd get that center developing. And it should move gradually in this direction, and waters do get cooler, so we'll wait and see exactly what happens with that. Western Pacific's quiet, so that'll do it. I'm Mike Naso from podweather.com. Stay tuned. I'll see you next time.